When I was 10, my father died unexpectedly, but then the lawyer asked me whether I wanted to live with my biological mother, or take the 200 million left by my father. In my previous life, I cried and screamed for my mother, but instead, she took my father's pension, and immediately married old Wank next door. Oh no, I mean Uncle Xiao. I became a burden in their eyes, and was finally worked to death on a construction site, only 28 years old when I died. Looking back on that pathetic and laughable life, I was utterly stupid through and through. And now, the fork in the road of fate appears again. The woman in front of me is crying like a pear blossom in the rain. Old bull, how could you just leave, leaving us widows and orphans to fend for ourselves? She cried heartbreakingly. Her body limp as mud. If not for someone nearby supporting her, she could collapse to the ground at any moment. In my previous life, I was fooled by her appearance. I thought she was truly heartbroken. I thought she couldn't live without me. So I rushed over and hugged her legs. Crying and shouting, I insisted on being with her. And what was the result? She took the pension my father bought with his life. And within less than 3 months, she happily married someone else. Married Zhao Qiang, the man she always said was taking care of us. My father's ashes hadn't even cooled yet when that man moved into my home and slept in the new bed my father once slept in. And I became the superfluous eyesore, becoming the unwanted burden that shouldn't exist in their eyes. Zhao Qiang has a son 2 years older than me. He sees me as a thorn in his side and a dagger in his heart. Li Lan, in order to please that whore, beats and scolds me without mercy. The money my father left behind became the capital for their family to eat, drink, and have fun, and a bargaining chip for my stepbrother to pick up girls and flaunt his wealth, while I had to scrape together my tuition fees by collecting trash. I hadn't even finished high school before I was kicked out to work. Each time they said that, as a boy, I needed to become independent early. I carried bricks at the construction site for a full 10 years, and finally collapsed from overwork, falling onto a pile of hot steel bars, never to wake up again. Now I'm back. Li Lan hugs me and says, "Don't be afraid, little master. From now on, Mom will take good care of you." He hugged me, his tears and snot smearing all over my face. But deep in his eyes, there was something hidden, a barely noticeable eagerness and greed. Seeing this, I did not cry or make a fuss like in my past life, but just quietly watched his performance with cold eyes. This is my father's close friend who came over, also his acting lawyer, Uncle Joe. Lawyer Joe sighed and patted me on the shoulder, then took a document out of his briefcase. Then he said, "Li Lan, Xiao Ye, this is Brother Ning's will made during his lifetime." Lawyer Joe's voice was unusually heavy. Brother Ning took every possibility into account. He has assets of 200 million in his name. These have been notarized. Now there are 2 options. First, if Xiao Wei stays with you, this money will be used as compensation and child support, and will be kept by you until Xiao Wei reaches adulthood. Upon hearing this, Li Lan's breathing instantly became rapid, a terrifying light bursting from his eyes, as he stared fixedly at the will document. Second, if Xiao Wei chooses not to go with you, this money will be transferred to a trust fund, supervised by me on his behalf, with Xiao Wei having sole control. And you, Li Lan, will not receive any part of it. The air seemed to freeze instantly, and everyone's gaze focused on me, a 10-year-old child. Li Lan's body visibly stiffened, and he stared at Lawyer Joe in disbelief, as if saying, how could you propose such a choice? Then he immediately put on a heartbroken expression and hugged me tightly. Li Lan wailed as he spoke. While wailing, he pinched my arm and threatened me viciously in my ear. In my previous life, I was terrified by these words and was moved by his line that Mom can't live without you. But now, I only feel waves of nausea. I could feel his hand shaking as he pinched me, not from sadness, but from excitement and nervousness. 200 million, he had never seen so much money in his life. He began to fantasize about the days after getting the money, fantasizing about the wonderful life of being together with Xiao Qiang. I slowly broke free, little by little, from his suffocating embrace. After breaking free, I looked up and met Lawyer Joe's stunned gaze. I spoke clearly and deliberately, each word enunciated. The entire funeral hall instantly fell into a dead silence. The sound of falling could be heard. A pin dropping on the ground could be heard. Everyone seemed to have been pressed the pause button, staring at me in shock. The sorrowful expression on Li Lan's face instantly froze, then shattered inch by inch, finally turning to shock in disbelief. Li Lan shrieked, "What did you say, Ning Yi?" His voice was piercing as if to tear eardrums. I calmly repeated it again. My voice was not loud, but it pricked like nails. I said, "I don't want you, I want money." Li Lan shrieked, "You're crazy, you unfilial son, I'm your own mother." Li Lan completely lost control, lunging at me like a shrew, raising her hand to slap me. But her wrist was grabbed by a large hand. The person who grabbed him was Lawyer Joe. Lawyer Joe said with a grim face, "Li Lan, please calm down. We are in front of Brother Ning's memorial hall. And this is Xiao Ye's own choice. What does a little child like him know? You must have put him up to it." Lawyer Joe disgustedly shook off his hand and said, "I will say it again. This is Brother Ning's will, and it is legally binding. Since Xiao Wei has made his choice, I will immediately initiate the relevant procedures. From now on, you are no longer his legal guardian." Li Lan was completely dumbfounded. He looked at me, his eyes filled with resentment and unwillingness, as if looking at an irreconcilable enemy. He probably can never understand. How could his usually timid and obedient son suddenly become so unfamiliar and cold-hearted? I couldn't be bothered to deal with him anymore. I walked over to Lawyer Joe, pulled at a corner of his clothes, asked, "Uncle Joe." My dad knew long ago. Lawyer Joe's body jolted suddenly. He crouched down and looked seriously into my eyes. After a moment, he nodded heavily and said, "Your father is a smart man. He really loves you too much." A single sentence made my eyes instantly red. Yeah, my dad, such a smart person. How could he not see through Li Lan's frivolous and flirtatious nature? He just wanted to give me a complete family. Has been enduring silently, without expressing it, until he was diagnosed with a terminal illness and had little time left. He paved this way out for me. The me from my previous life was really too foolish. I personally destroyed my father's final love. This time, I will not make the same mistake. I choose the 200 million. Li Lan was eventually dragged away by the relatives, the venomous look in her eyes as she left. I engraved in my heart and remembered it for a lifetime. But I don't care at all. From the second I made that choice, the mother-son bond between her and me had already been severed. All that remains is hatred. Lawyer Joe became my guardian. He is an upright and reliable person. After my father's funeral, Lawyer Joe took me to his home to stay. He showed me a long investment list. All projects my father had researched with him before his death. But I flipped straight to the last page. Uncle Joe sell all of these earlier ones. Lawyer Joe was taken aback and said, Xiao Ye, these are all blue chip stocks. Carefully selected by your father. Very stable. I shook my head and said, too slow. I reached out and tapped my finger on the list, pointing at a few inconspicuous names. Put all the money into these few companies. Lawyer Joe said with a furrowed brow. Penguin and Ali. What kind of companies are these? I have never even heard of them. Xiao Ye's investment is no joke. Uncle Joe, do you trust my dad? He was stunned for a moment, then of course he trusted. Then nodded and said, then trust me this once too, my father told me in a dream. I could only use this awkward excuse. But Lawyer Joe looked into my eyes. Those eyes were so calm, they were unlike a 10-year-old's. And he nodded as if compelled by some ghostly force. What he didn't know was that the few names I mentioned would stir the entire world over the next decade, becoming the most massive commercial giants. And I would be the most mysterious shareholder behind them. After completing all these arrangements, I completely relaxed. I set myself a new life goal. To lie flat. Yes, just lie flat. In my previous life, I worked myself to death. In this life, I want to live comfortably. So I had Lawyer Joe find me the best private school. Not to study hard, but for the environment and the good cafeteria food. I started working out, not for anything else, just so I can have 8-pack abs and a V-line in the future, and look good in clothes. I started studying China's 8 major cuisines, and learning to brew my own alcohol, not to become a chef, but just to satisfy my own culinary desires. I left all the troublesome matters to Lawyer Joe, and later to the professional team he helped me assemble. The leading man was called Old Wu, an elite returned from Wall Street, whom I poached with triple the salary. I have only one request for him. Don't bother me, handle things yourself, and if you can't, let him go bankrupt. The look Lao Wu gave me at that time was like he was looking at a prodigal landlord's foolish son. But he still faithfully carried out my orders. So my life became, boss, the stock price of Penguin Company has tripled again, and we have made 5 billion. Oh, I see, don't disturb me while I study the Buddha jumping bridge. Boss, Alibaba is about to go public, and the value of our original shares is expected to exceed 100 billion. Yeah, got it. Help me check how this new batch of rice wine I brewed is. Boss, the land you casually bought last time. The government plans to turn it into a central business district of the new area, and its value has skyrocketed 100-fold. Old Wu gradually got used to my idle state, and even started to actively filter out those unimportant small businesses of several billion for me. And I am going further and further down the path of lying flat. The wealth under my name is growing like a snowball. But I have become numb to the numbers. I am only interested in how to make myself more comfortable. I became a mysterious legend among the top billionaire circles. No one knew who I was. Only that there was a mysterious Mr. Ning. Immensely wealthy, yet elusive and never revealing himself. Until I was 18, the appearance of a woman shattered my tranquil slacker life. Xiao Wanqing, my former fiancé. The engagement between Xiao Wanqing and me was a childhood betrothal arranged by our grandfathers. After my father passed away, our family declined, and this marriage was no longer mentioned. But no one expected that the inheritance he left behind would ferment into a huge business empire 10 years later. Although I deliberately kept a low profile, the resurgence of the Ning family still caught the attention of the Xiao family. So on my 18th birthday, old Master Xiao brought his precious granddaughter to visit in person. Each period is called the marriage contract of that year. I first met little Wanqing was in the living room of Lawyer Joe's house. She wore a decent white suit skirt. Her long hair was meticulously pinned up at the back of her head. Her face was adorned with delicate, light makeup. Maisie Maya. But like an iceberg, her whole body exudes a chill that keeps strangers at a distance. She is the standard strong woman, raised as the family heir, rational, strong, and calm. It is said that she earned a double PhD at the age of 20 and took over the family business at 22. With ruthless methods, she made even the seasoned business foxes wary. Her world consisted only of career interests and data. Emotions were regarded as the most useless weakness. Ning Yi right. She sat across from me. Her legs were crossed. Her gaze scanned me like a scanner. It carried undisguised scrutiny and intimacy. I had just come back from the gym, wearing a loose-fitting tracksuit. My hair was still damp with sweat. I lazily responded. Leaning on the sofa, I casually picked up an apple and started munching on it. My attitude obviously displeased her. Her eyebrows slightly furrowed. I heard you haven't studied since high school graduation. Yeah, studying is too tiring. So what are you doing now? Fitness, cooking, brewing, researching how to lie down more comfortably. To be honest, a hint of a sardonic smile curled at the corner of Xiao Wanqing's mouth. So you're just a good-for-nothing, idle rich kid. That can be understood that way. I shrugged indifferently, and she let out a cold laugh, the contempt in her eyes even stronger. Ning Yi, let's speak frankly. This marriage is a joke made by Grandpa, not to be taken seriously. My husband Xiao Wanqing must be a strong man who can stand shoulder to shoulder with me. Not a good-for-nothing who only knows how to eat, drink, and have fun. So, I looked at her with interest. So I hope you take the initiative to tell my grandfather to call off the engagement. She said in a commanding tone. As compensation, I can give you a sum of money. Or arrange a leisurely position for you in our company. I almost spat out the apple in my mouth. Give me money. Outrages me. Does she know that the Xiao Group she prides herself on? In my eyes. Xiao Wanqing's pupils suddenly contracted. She probably hadn't heard such arrogant words in her entire life. She fiercely pushed me away and stood up, her face flushed with anger and pupils dilated. Ning Yi, don't be ungrateful. Shameless. Face is earned by oneself, not given by others. I sat back down on the sofa and crossed my legs. Miss Xiao, you were the one who looked down on me first, weren't you? She looked down at me from a superior position. People like you, other than being born into a good family, what else can you do? All day doing nothing, but eating and waiting to die. What's the difference between that and a parasite? The difference is, I'm willing. I greedy hands. I am the master of my own life. Unlike some people, who live like a precise machine, even calculating gains and losses in joy and anger. My words had clearly struck a nerve, her face turning a few shades paler as she clenched her fists. Men of different principles cannot work together. I will dissolve the engagement. From now on, we will have nothing to do with each other. After saying that, she turned and left without looking back. That proud back, like a white swan that was defeated, but unwilling to bow its head. Lawyer Joe walked out of the study, with a worried expression on his face. Aunt, isn't this too impulsive of you? The Xiao family has considerable influence in the capital. Uncle Joe, rest assured. It was his own decision to call off the engagement, not me driving him away. Besides, how much can a person who cannot even make decisions about his own marriage amount to? I watched the direction where Xiao Wanqing had disappeared, with not a single ripple in my eyes. In her previous life, she was a bright moon hanging high in the sky. And I didn't even have the qualification to look up to her. In this life, in my eyes, she is nothing more than a pitiful person trapped by her family. I look forward to what kind of devastated expression it will be. It must be very amusing. The engagement turmoil soon subsided. Xiao Wanqing did what she said. Within a few days, the Xiao family formally announced the dissolution of the engagement. I enjoy the peace and quiet, continuing my laid-back life. Old Wu's phone still rang on time every day, reporting how many small goals I had earned. My personal wealth has ballooned to a terrifying number that I myself am too lazy to calculate. But I still wear sports clothes that cost a few dozen yuan every day, drive an ordinary commuter car, and shuttle between the gym and the vegetable market. Until one day, I met an angel in a dessert shop that was about to close down. That is a shop opened deep in the alleys of the old city. The shop is very small, decorated in an antique style, selling some nearly lost Chinese desserts. I was attracted by the handwritten wooden sign at the door. Today's special, Osmantha sugar steamed oyster powder cake. This dessert was the one my dad loved to make for me when I was little. I pushed the door open, and the wind chimes let out a series of crisp sounds. A girl in a light green cheongsam walked out from the back kitchen. She has waist-length hair, a bare face, and a hint of startled confusion on her face. The moment I saw her, my heart skipped a beat. That was a very peculiar feeling. She is not as aggressively beautiful as Xiao Wanqing, but is like a clear spring, clean and pure, making one feel at ease at a glance. Excuse me, do you still have the Osmantha sugar steamed oyster cake? I opened my mouth to ask, my voice unexpectedly hoarse. The girl was startled for a moment, then revealed a gentle smile, like a spring breeze rushing over the surface, creating ripples. Yes, please take a seat. I'll go get it for you right away. Her voice was also very pleasant, soft and sweet. I found a seat by the window and sat down. Soon, she came over carrying a plate of delicate pastries and placed it in front of me. I picked up a piece and put it in my mouth. This is the taste, exactly the same as my dad made. A warm current rose from the bottom of my heart, and my eyes actually became a little moist. How is it? Is it good? The girl sat down across from me, resting her chin on her hands, and looked at me with an expectant expression. I sincerely praised. The same flavor as my dad's. Really? Her eyes lit up. The recipe for this dessert was passed down from my grandmother. She said that nowadays, very few people know how to make it. Your grandmother must be a very remarkable person. She proudly puffed out her little chest. Yes. My name is Shen Youchu, and this shop is run by me. And you, my name is Ning Yi. We chatted like old friends. And chatted. I learned that her family has deep scholarly roots, with ancestors who were imperial chefs. She has been immersed in these traditional crafts since childhood. She dislikes the 9-to-5 routine of big corporations, so she opened this small shop on her own, simply wanting to pass on these beautiful flavors. Her values were surprisingly similar to mine. We both prefer a slow-paced lifestyle, and share an almost stubborn love for traditional culture. That afternoon, I sat in that small dessert shop and talked with her for a very long time. Sunlight streamed through the curtains and fell upon her, casting a golden glow around her. I looked at her sparkling eyes as she spoke, and the inadvertent sweet smile that appeared. Somewhere in my heart, something seemed to be filled. I suddenly felt that my heart, which had become old and hard due to rebirth, began to soften again. From that day on, the dessert shop of God's Blessing Kitchen became my new base, and I would go there every day without fail. Sometimes to eat a new dessert she had developed. Sometimes to drink a cup of tea brewed by her own hands. More often than not, I simply sat there, quietly watching her busy at work. She was very busy, with only her alone in the shop. From preparing ingredients and making desserts to serving customers, and cleaning up, she did everything herself. But she never complained, with a satisfied smile always on her face. And I began to learn to help her, starting with washing dishes, then helping to pick vegetables. And later, she even allowed me into her back kitchen, watching her make desserts. Her kitchen is not big, but it is kept neat and orderly, with all kinds of utensils arranged neatly. When she works, she is very focused, like a devout artist. Watching her delicate hands turn ordinary ingredients into exquisite works of art is a pleasure. Once, I was helping her carry a heavy bag of flour again, because I had just finished working out. I was only wearing a tight workout vest. Shen Youchu stood behind me, watching my muscles tense from the effort. Her cheeks slightly flushed. I put down the rice bag, turned around, and deliberately puffed out my chest. I thought she would shyly run away. But she actually reached out her hand. Her fingertips were slightly cool, carrying a faint sweetness of glutinous rice, and gently poked into the grooves of my abdominal muscles. She looked as if she had discovered a new world, her eyes wide open. My body instantly tensed up, and a surge of heat rushed from my abdomen straight to my head. I have lived 2 lifetimes, and for the first time I was teased like this by a girl. Seeing her innocent and curious look, I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. I grabbed her mischievous little hand. Her hand was very soft, as if it had no bones. I lowered my voice and leaned close to her ear. Her face turned instantly red, like a ripe apple. She quickly withdrew her hand, turned around, and ran out of the back kitchen. I watched her retreating figure as she fled, couldn't help but laugh. This girl was really too cute. In such daily interactions, our relationship gradually warmed up. We had endless common topics, from cuisine to brewing, from conch opera to the yukin. I found that she was like a treasure, always able to bring me new surprises. She can play the gojang, paint ink wash paintings, and even make her own rouge. She is like a maidservant who has traveled through time from ancient times, exuding classical charm all over. Being with her, I felt the whole world slow down, became peaceful and beautiful. My heart, which only wanted to lie flat, began to stir slightly. I began to look forward to seeing her every day, looking forward to seeing her smile, looking forward to bickering with her, looking forward to those little gestures she makes unintentionally. I even started to think that if every day in the future had her by my side, it wouldn't be so bad. I gave her dessert shop a special name, called my Imperial Kitchen, and she gave me a nickname, called the Lying Flat Big Landlord. She said I do nothing every day, just knows to come to her place to collect rent. Took all of her best desserts. I know there's just a thin layer of paper between us. And the one who broke that barrier was an accident. That day, a rich second-generation driving a sports car came to the shop. He fell for Shen Youchu at first sight. He was slick-haired and spoke frivolously. As soon as he came up, he wanted to rent out the entire shop and asked Shen Youchu to accompany him. Shen Youchu naturally refused. The rich second-generation was humiliated and became angry, started making a scene in the store, breaking quite a few things. I was just in the back studying a new recipe. Hearing the noise outside, immediately rushed out. Seeing the store in a mess and Shen Youchu's pale, terrified face, a nameless rage flared up instantly. In 2 lifetimes, I've never been this angry. I stood in front of Shen Youchu and coldly looked at that rich second generation. He arrogantly pointed at my nose. I didn't say a word. Instead, I took out my phone and dialed Lao Wu's number. Old Wu, help me check a license plate number. Within 5 minutes, make him and his family's company disappear from the capital. The rich second generation was stunned for a moment, then burst into wild laughter. You're killing me. Do you think you're in a movie? Making my family disappear in 5 minutes. Do you know who my father is? I quietly watched him, like looking at a dead man. In less than 3 minutes, the rich second generation's phone rang. He answered it, and the smile on his face instantly froze. What, Dad? What did you say? The company's accounts have been frozen. All the partnerships have been canceled. How is that possible? Who did we offend? His voice trembled with fear. And finally, he fell to his knees with a thud, the phone slipping from his hand. He looked up at me, as if I were a monster, his lips quivering, unable to utter a single word. Now can you get lost? I said indifferently. He scrambled out, not even bothering with his flashy sports car, and the store returned to silence. Shen Youchu looked at me, her beautiful eyes filled with shock and a hint of admiration. You, I turned to look at him, my heart aching as I helped wipe the tears from his face. Don't be afraid, I'm here. After speaking, without waiting for his reaction, I lowered my head to steady his slightly cool lips. Shen Youchu's lips were as soft as I had imagined, carrying the sweet scent of osmanthus candy. He first stiffened, like a startled fawn, then slowly relaxed, and clumsily responded to me. This kiss was very light and shallow, yet it struck my heart like an electric current. After a long while, I reluctantly let him go. His head was bowed, his face was so red that it seemed to drip blood, and he dared not look at me. Shen Youchu. I cupped his face, making him look into my eyes, and said seriously, will you be my girlfriend? She bit her lip, her long eyelashes trembling like butterfly wings. After a long while, she let out a soft hum like a mosquito's buzz. I smiled like a fool. I held her tightly in my arms, feeling I possessed the whole world, having lived 2 lives. For the first time, I experienced what it means to have a fluttering heart and what happiness is. She said muffledly in my arms, you were so scary just now. Scared you? You can make a company go bankrupt with just 1 phone call. Ning Yi, who exactly are you? I looked into her clear and innocent eyes and knew I could no longer hide it from her. I told you, I'm an idle landlord. I tapped her nose, I just have a bit more land. I selectively told her my story. Of course, I didn't tell her the secret of rebirth. I only said my dad left me a large inheritance. I used this money to make some investments and earned a bit of money. Shen Youchu blinked. A little money. How small is an amount of money that can bankrupt a company in 5 minutes? I thought about it and said in a way she could understand. Well, probably like your dessert shop, I could buy tens of thousands of them. Shen Youchu took a sharp breath, counted on his fingers for a long time, and then looked at me in shock. Are you, Trilfu? I nodded, and he fell silent. I felt a bit uneasy, afraid that he might back out because of the huge wealth gap between us. Unexpectedly, he was silent for a long time, then suddenly looked up and stared at me with a serious expression. Ning Yi, listen carefully. From now on, your money is my money, and my money is still my money. I was stunned for a moment, then burst into laughter, and I picked him up, spinning him around several times in place. Okay, whatever you say, my Imperial Kitchen manager. He was spun dizzy by me, could only hug my neck and make a silvery laughter. I know I didn't choose the wrong person. What I love is Shen Youchu himself, not the additional halo on him. After being with Shen Youchu, my lying flat life became colorful. We study new desserts together and brew new wine together. He would drag me to visit the morning vegetable market, to haggle with a vendor over a penny until red in the face. I would also take him to eat at a Michelin 3-star restaurant, letting him taste cuisines from around the world. He likes to touch my abs and says they feel great. Like a washboard, I like to kiss his Adam's apple. Looking at his cheeks flushed with victory, we were as sweet and lovey-dovey as any couple in love. Old Wu said about this that he is stuffed to death with dog food every day. Boss, this is the acquisition case from Xiao Group, requiring your signature. Put it there. I need to make some rock candy pear soup for Right Chef first. Boss, this is a dinner invitation from the European royal family. Decline it. I need to accompany Right Chef to see the newly released movie. Boss, President Xiao of the Xiao Group wants to meet you to discuss a collaboration. When Old Wu mentioned President Xiao, he cautiously glanced at me. My hand paused for a moment. The name CEO Wanqing I had not heard for a long time. I asked indifferently, what does he want from me? Old Wu explained. The Xiao Group recently had a problem with its capital chain and urgently needed a large investment. They heard that we are running smoothly and want to seek cooperation. Yifan Shunfeng is an investment company that I had Old Wu establish, and it is also the most insignificant little corner of my vast business empire. But even this small corner is a behemoth that the Xiao Group must look up to. Truly, fortunes have reversed. That aloof one who was once so high and mighty, the iceberg CEO who said I wasn't good enough for him, is now actually coming to beg me for investment. He probably never dreamed in his wildest dreams that the legendary, mysterious, and unpredictable, the mysterious and all-powerful boss behind Yifan Shenfeng, turned out to be the useless person he once most despised. What surprised him even more was that this useless person was now wearing an apron in the back kitchen of a small dessert shop, personally making soup for a girl. And that girl was clinging to him intimately in a posture of claiming sovereignty. Xiao Wanqing's face instantly turned pale. Her usually calm and rational eyes were filled with shock, confusion, and a trace of discomposure she herself hadn't noticed. President Xiao, you're here. It was as if I had just seen her. I wiped my hands, took off my apron, and greeted her with a lukewarm tone. Shen Youchu also poked her little head out from behind me, curiously sizing up Xiao Wanqing, then whispered to me, Ning Yi, who is she? She looks so fierce. A beggar. I smiled, pinched her nose, and Shen Youchu couldn't help but laugh. Xiao Wanqing's face instantly turned from white to green, then from green to red, vividly colorful. She clenched her fists, her nails digging deep into her palms. She forced out a few words through gritted teeth. Ning Yi, don't go too far. Too much. I raised my eyebrow at the young lady. President Xiao, if I remember correctly, it was you who personally said, we have nothing to do with each other. And now you've come to my door. If not to beg, then why are you here? I pulled Shen Youchu and walked to sit at the table outside and placed a steaming basket of Xiao Longbao in front of him. Try it freshly out of the oven. Then I leisurely looked at Xiao Wanqing and made a gesture of invitation. President Xiao, have a seat. What's the matter? Go ahead. My attitude was casual and dismissive, as if brushing off an insignificant person. This is completely different from the business negotiation he had imagined. No tension, no verbal sparring, only crushing, naked, all-encompassing crushing. Xiao Wanqing took a deep breath and forced herself to calm down. She pulled out a chair, sat down across from me, took a thick document from her bag, and pushed it in front of me. Mr. Ning, this is our Xiao Group's 5-year development plan and this financing proposal. Stop, I raised my hand to interrupt her. President Xiao, you seem to have misunderstood one thing. What? Now it's you who's begging me, not me begging you. I leaned back in my chair and said slowly and deliberately, I am not interested in your plan. I only want to ask you one question. I pointed at Shen Youchu beside me, and then at myself. Do you think she and I are a good match? Xiao Wanqing's body trembled violently. She looked at me, then at the person beside me, who was eating small soup dumplings in small bites. Shen Youchu, with a blissful expression on her face. Her lips moved, but she couldn't utter a single word. This question stabbed into her proud heart like a sharp knife. The man before her was handsome, wealthy, and immensely powerful. Yet he was willing, for an ordinary girl, to work the soil with his own hands. The doting in his eyes was a tenderness she had never seen before. And that girl, though plainly dressed, had a clean smile and clear eyes, her whole being radiating a sense of happiness, enveloped in love. They sat together, forming a picture of peaceful times, while she herself, in an expensive suit, holding a thick proposal, sat here like a clown, begging for a little bit of this man's pity. Once upon a time, she stood before him, using a condescending tone to tell him to get out of her world. But now fortunes have turned. A tremendous irony and regret, like a tide engulfing him. His pride, his reason was shattered in that moment. He opened his mouth with difficulty. His voice was hoarse, unlike his own. You make a good match, right? I laughed. But I remember, back then someone said I was useless, a parasite not worthy of him. Xiao Wanqing's last trace of color drained from her face. She knew I was humiliating her, throwing her own words back at her unchanged. Minji, I admit, back then I was blind. She closed her eyes, as if using all her strength. I apologize to you. But business is business, personal is personal. This cooperation is really important to the Xiao Group. I beg you, beg me. I interrupted her. President Xiao, in what capacity are you begging me? Ex-fiancée or defeated rival? Shen Youchu listened nearby, utterly confused. But she wisely did not interrupt. Instead, she silently added a small soup dumpling to my bowl, and supported me with her clear eyes without a word. This small gesture, however, completely shattered Xiao Wanqing's defenses. She saw the wordless understanding between us, the intimacy etched into bone and blood, something she could never have. She had always thought that what she pursued was the pinnacle of her career, is supreme power. But only today did she realize, when she stood high above and looked down upon the masses, how empty and cold her heart was. She won the whole world, but lost the only person who could have warmed her. Ning Yi, she spoke again, her voice tinged with tears. Please, I beg you. Okay, she cried. The one who is always aloof and above all. Xiao Wanqing, who is cold and aloof, actually cried. Tears slid down her delicate cheeks, dripping onto her proud project. A patch of water stain spread out. I quietly watched her. There's not a trace of joy in my heart, only a silent numbness. In my previous life, I might have softened at her tears, but not now. I picked up the plan, didn't even look at it, and directly threw it into the nearby trash can. President Xiao, I stood up and looked down at her from a height. By the way, I have no interest in acquiring a company about to go bankrupt, especially when the owner of that company is you. After saying that, I didn't look at her anymore. I took Shen Youchu's hand, turned around, and walked into the back kitchen, with Xiao Wanqing's uncontrollable sobbing coming from behind me. I know that from today. This woman's pride has been shattered by my own hands. And this is just the beginning. Xiao Wanqing left in a daze, and I no longer paid attention to what happened to her, because an even more disgusting person came looking for me. Li Lan, my biological mother, somehow found out about Shen Youchu's dessert shop, and blocked the entrance directly. After 10 years, she had aged a lot and looked much more haggard. That woman, once charming, now has wrinkles at the corners of her eyes, hair streaked with silver, wears cheap market goods, and has a face full of scheming and greed. It's obvious at a glance that she and Xiao Kang haven't been doing well these years. In a previous life, they squandered my father's money recklessly. Xiao Kang also became addicted to gambling. Soon they squandered all the family wealth. In this life, without that money from my father, they must be living even more difficultly. As soon as he saw me, he pounced on me. Wanted to hug me like 10 years ago. I turned away in disgust to dodge him. Xiao Yi, my son, Mom has finally found you. He started his crying and wailing act again. If you have something to say, say it. I said coldly. If you have nothing to do, then get lost. Xiao Yi, how can you talk to me like that? Mom knows you're still mad at her, but back then Mom had her own hardships. Your Uncle Xiao and I have had a very hard time these years. He was cheated in business and is deep in debt. We can't even afford food now. Xiao Ye, you've made something of yourself now. You can't just ignore your mother. He wiped his tears and began to play the sympathy card. He said that and was about to kneel down, and I frowned. Shen Youchu walked out of the store and was somewhat at a loss when he saw this. Minji, this is an irrelevant person. I shielded Shen Youchu behind me, not wanting her to be touched by this scene of misunderstanding. Li Lan screamed, pointing at Shen Youchu. How am I an irrelevant person? I am his mother, his biological mother. And who are you? A fox spirit trying to seduce my son and steal our family's money, isn't it? Shen Youchu's face paled, and my expression turned completely dark. I said each word deliberately, my voice as cold as ice. I'll say it again, get out. I don't care. Ning Yi, you must give me money today. 1 million. No, 10 million. Otherwise, I'll stay here and not leave. I'm also going to sue you. I'll sue you for abandoning your biological mother. Li Lan began to act shamelessly and throw a tantrum. She thought I was still that soft persimmon she could manipulate at will. She thought I would care about reputation and others' opinions. She was wrong. I looked at her ugly face and suddenly laughed. All right. I said, aren't you going to sue me? I'll give you that chance. I took out my phone and dialed Old Wu's number again. Old Wu, help me contact the best lawyer team in the capital. And also help me contact a few of the largest media outlets. I want to hold a press conference. The theme is, me and this biological mother of mine will thoroughly settle accounts over these years. Li Lan was stunned. She didn't expect that. Far from being intimidated by her, I would instead escalate the matter. You dare. She was somewhat timid. You see if I dare. I put away my phone and sneered. Li Lan, you have probably forgot how I advised you 10 years ago. 10 years ago, I could abandon you for money. 10 years later, I can still ruin your reputation for peace. Don't you like acting? I'll build you an even bigger stage and let you act to your heart's content. My gaze was like looking at a dead object. Li Lan felt a chill run through her entire body under my stare. He finally realized that the son before him was no longer someone he could control. He was a demon more cold and ruthless than himself. He pointed at me, struggled for a long time, and finally couldn't bear the immense pressure. Slinking away in defeat, and the world finally quieted down. Minji, Shen Youchu held my hand worriedly. He really is your mother. Used to be. I turned my hand over and held hers, placed it by my lips and kissed it. Not anymore. From now on, my only family is you. Shen Youchu looked at me. Tears of distress welled up in her eyes. She didn't ask anything further. Tiptoed and gave me a warm hug. I held her. Feeling the shadows in my heart, left by the past life, was slowly being dispelled by her sunshine. Yes, I still have her, and that's enough. I thought that after being scared away by me, Li Lan would give up. But I still underestimated her shamelessness. A few days later, a flood of negative information about me suddenly appeared all over the internet. Mysterious billionaire Ning Yi is actually a modern-day Chen Shime, an ordinary woman from a wealthy family. He abandoned his devoted mother. Shocking secret. When the billionaire spoke, he was actually sucking the blood of his biological mother. Dead mother cries blood, accusing my son of being lured away by a vixen. One tearful essay after another. Painted me as an ungrateful, money-worshipping, beauty-blinded and great. However, Li Lan became a poor mother who endured hardships and was abandoned by her son. Shen Youchu naturally became that vixen who destroyed the bond between mother and son. There were also a few candid shots of me and Shen Youchu eating at a small street-side restaurant. For a time, public opinion was in uproar. Countless netizens who did not know the truth were incited by these short articles and began to fiercely denounce me online. My name appeared on the trending list for the first time in this way. And there were even some extreme netizens. They doxed Shen Youchu's dessert shop, splashed paint and threw trash at the shop entrance, and cursed at her as a shameless mistress. Shen Youchu was terrified, and she didn't dare to open the shop for several days. She hid in my arms, crying aggrievedly. I held her, my heart aching beyond measure. Ning Yi, I am not a fox spirit. I know you're not. Don't be afraid. I'm here for everything. The murderous intent in my eyes is unprecedented and intense. Li Lan, Xiaoqiang, you've really pissed me off. I originally only wanted to let you fend for yourselves, but you insisted on provoking the people I care about most. So don't blame me for being ruthless. I had Old Wu look into it, and the results came out quickly. Behind all this, it was indeed Li Lan and Xiaoqiang pulling the strings. They hired a third-rate marketing company, bought bots, and directed the whole drama themselves. Unexpectedly, Xiao Wanqing's shadow was behind this matter. Although she did not directly participate, the public relations company under her name, in this public opinion battle, played a role in fueling it. I didn't rush to clarify or take down the trending topics. I let the public opinion continue to ferment. I want them to stand higher and fall harder. 3 days later, just when the online condemnation of me reached its peak, I held that press conference I had prepared for Li Lan. The venue was at the top 7-star hotel in the capital, in the largest banquet hall, and I invited over 100 mainstream media outlets from across the country. The scale was unprecedented. Li Lan was also invited to the scene by me. He probably thought I was going to back down and settle things with money. With a smug smile on his face, Xiao Wanqing also came. She sat in an inconspicuous corner, wanting to see how I would handle the situation. I was wearing a well-fitted handmade suit, led Shen Youchu by the hand, and walked onto the podium. Shen Youchu was a bit nervous. Her palms were sweating. I gave her a reassuring smile. The flashbulbs went berserk. I cleared my throat and spoke my first words into the countless microphones and lenses before me. Hello, everyone. I am Ning Yi. I have invited you here today to tell you a story about choices. I told the story from when I was 10 years old exactly as it happened. From my dad's will to Li Lan's threats, to my final choice. I spoke very calmly, not a single trace of emotional fluctuation, like narrating something unrelated to oneself. But the entire venue fell into a dead silence. All the journalists were stunned. They probably didn't expect. The truth of the matter turned out to be such a shocking reversal. Li Lan's face instantly turned pale. He wanted to rush up and retort, but was firmly held down by the bodyguards I arranged. Of course, words alone are not proof. I snapped my fingers. The large screen behind me lit up. On it, a recording began to play. That was 10 years ago in the morning hall. That passage where Li Lan threatened me in my ear. The voice is extremely clear. It was I who had Lawyer Zhou retrieve it from the recording pen he carried with him back then. My father was paranoid before his death. Lawyer Zhou, just in case, only then recorded all the conversations at that time. Unexpectedly, it came in handy today. Once the recording was played, the whole room erupted in uproar. The reporters' flashbulbs all turned toward the ashen-faced Li Lan. Li Lan screamed wildly. I laughed. The scene on the big screen changed. Started playing a video. It was less than a month after my father's death. The scene of Li Lan and Zhao Qiang hosting and celebrating in an upscale restaurant. Lanlin, I told you, that kid is just a fool. He would definitely choose you. That is my son. I know him well enough. Once we get that 200 million, we'll travel around the world. Come to our bright future, cheers. In the video, the two of them smiled brilliantly, dazzlingly. This video, I asked Old Wu to use some special means to recover it from that restaurant surveillance footage. Ironclad evidence left Li Lan unable to argue any further, and she collapsed to the ground like a pile of mud. It's not over yet, I said coldly, as new evidence continued to appear on the big screen. Zhao Qiang's gambling IOUs, records of them selling off my father's belongings, and even neighbor testimonies of how they abused me as a child. Item by item, each shocking and horrifying. The so-called loving mother and the so-called bitter hardships have become a huge joke in the face of ironclad facts. The entire press conference turned into a public execution for Li Lan and Zhao Qiang, and I remained merely a calm observer from start to finish. Finally, the big screen froze on a document, a declaration of severance of mother-son relationship. I picked up the microphone. I hereby officially announce that I'm willing to do so. My voice spread throughout the venue. From today onward, I sever all relations with Ms. Li Lan. And from now on, life, death, sickness, marriage, and funerals are irrelevant to each other. Also, I paused for a moment. My gaze swept towards CEO Wanqing in the corner. For all individuals and entities involved in this malicious defamation against me and my fiancée, Miss Shen Youchu, my legal team will pursue full legal liability, including the public relations firm under the Xiao Group. CEO Wanqing's body shook violently. She looked up to meet my cold gaze. Her face lost all color. She knew that I was declaring war on her, and she also knew that she had lost. Lost completely and utterly. The press conference became the headline of all media that night. Public opinion reversed instantly. Various trending topics bombarded the hot search. Li Lan and Zhao Qiang became rats crossing the street, with everyone shouting to beat them. Not only must they face moral condemnation, but also legal sanctions. Fraud, child abuse, and evidence tampering are enough to rot them in prison. The Xiao Group was also implicated, and its stock price plummeted 30% overnight. Heading toward bankruptcy, CEO Wanqing was overwhelmed and begged everywhere, but was refused at every turn, as no one dared to offend me at this time. She finally tasted the feeling of being abandoned and besieged on all sides. A few days later, an unexpected person called me. It was CEO Wanqing. Her voice was no longer cold, but filled with exhaustion and hoarseness. Ning Yi, I lost. This was the first sentence she said. I called you not to beg for mercy. I just want to ask you a question. Speak. If I hadn't called off the engagement back then, would you have? No. I interrupted her without hesitation. CEO Wanqing, you have never stepped into my world, nor will you ever be able to, because you have never truly understood me. What you see is just what you think you see, and what you like is just the strong person you imagine. But from beginning to end, I have only wanted to be an ordinary man who cooks for the person I love. A long silence fell on the other end of the line, and finally only a faint sound came through. That seemed heartbroken. I understand. After hanging up the phone, I knew this woman would never bother me again for the rest of her life. She might rebuild her business empire in her own way, but there will forever be a missing piece called happiness in her world. While I have already found mine, I turned off my phone and turned around and walked into the kitchen. Shen Youchu was wearing the Winnie the Pooh apron I bought for her, and humming a song while learning to make dumplings in a flustered manner, with her face covered in flour. Seeing me come in, she gave me a big smile. Landlord, come and help quickly. Your imperial kitchen manager wants to eat today. 3 fresh ingredient dumplings. Sunlight streamed in through the window, shining on her lovely face, warm and beautiful. I walked over, hugged her from behind, and kissed her flour-dusted nose. At your command, my queen. Wealth, power, and status, these things no longer matter at this moment. I only want to hold the girl in front of me. Cook for her for a lifetime. Watch her smile for a lifetime. And live this life over again. I used 200 million to buy off the entanglements with the past, but never expected that in the end, what I would win back was the whole world. A world with her in it.